Before we begin, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because stories like this aren't just about fame or money. They're about the quiet emotional battles that happen far away from cameras and headlines. From the outside, Elon Musk and Justine Musk look like a couple who had survived the impossible. They endured financial instability, near bankruptcies, failed startups, relentless pressure, sleepless nights, and the overwhelming weight of ambition. They raised children while businesses collapsed and rebuilt themselves repeatedly. To the public, they seemed strong, united, and resilient. But behind the polished image was a marriage slowly unraveling in silence. Justine felt it long before she could name it. Something invisible but heavy had settled between them, spreading quietly over the years. The end didn't arrive with shouting or dramatic betrayal. It came through emotional absence, through moments where love was replaced by efficiency, and finally through a single message that confirmed what she had been afraid to admit all along. Their story began long before Elon Musk became a household name. In the mid-1990s at Queen's University in Ontario, Elon was already different from the people around him. He was intense, analytical, socially awkward, and relentlessly focused on the future. Justine Wilson was observant, thoughtful, and quietly confident. When they first crossed paths at a party, it barely registered for her. But Elon remembered. When he later asked her out for ice cream and she declined, she assumed that was the end. For Elon, it was only a delay. Hours later, he tracked her down while she was studying and showed up holding 2 melting ice cream cones. It wasn't smooth or charming, but it was persistent. That moment, awkward and unexpected, perfectly reflected the dynamic that would define their relationship for years to come. Even when life pulled them in different directions, Elon didn't disappear. While he dated other women, he continued sending Justine roses. When he transferred to Wharton, he stayed in touch. When she moved to Japan to teach English, he still found ways to reconnect. His presence was constant, always orbiting her life. When she returned to North America, Elon was no longer just a student with big ideas. He was building Zip2 in Silicon Valley, sleeping in the office, surviving on ambition and exhaustion. Justine became his emotional refuge, the calm place he returned to when the chaos became too much. She balanced his intensity with softness, believing they were building something together. They married in January 2000, just as Elon sold Zip2 and began pouring money into XCOM, which would later become PayPal. It should have been the beginning of everything they dreamed of. But even at the wedding, a small moment quietly shifted the foundation. While dancing, Elon leaned in and casually said, "I am the alpha in this relationship." It sounded almost playful, but Justine froze. She laughed it off, convincing herself it was harmless. But something inside her sensed that this wasn't a joke. It was a declaration. A hierarchy had been spoken out loud, and once spoken, it never truly disappeared. 2 years later, the birth of their first child, Nevada Alexander Musk, briefly softened everything. Holding their son made the sacrifices feel worth it. But tragedy arrived without warning. At just 10 weeks old, Nevada stopped breathing in his sleep. Paramedics revived him, but the oxygen deprivation was too severe. He was declared brain dead and removed from life support. The loss shattered Justine completely. She needed to talk, cry, ask questions, and understand the impossible. Elon responded differently. He shut down emotionally, refusing to talk about Nevada at all. He compartmentalized the grief and locked it away. For Justine, that silence felt unbearable, like losing her child again every time the subject was avoided. Only 2 months later, Elon suggested IVF. To him, tragedy was a problem to be solved, not a wound to be mourned. He believed in moving forward and rebuilding immediately. Justine agreed, hoping more children might bring them closer again. In 2004, twins were born. In 2006, triplets followed. Suddenly, they had 5 young children under one roof. But instead of warmth and closeness, the home felt structured and distant. Elon's career exploded while Justine's emotional needs faded into the background. Tesla, SpaceX, constant pressure, global attention, and obsession with productivity consumed him entirely. As Elon's world expanded, Justine felt herself shrinking. He controlled finances, schedules, routines, and expectations. He valued efficiency, order, and predictability. She valued emotional connection, vulnerability, and healing. Their marriage stopped feeling like a partnership and began to feel like survival. She wasn't walking beside him anymore. She was orbiting him, held in place by momentum rather than love. The imbalance grew quietly but relentlessly. Disagreements were no longer discussions. They were problems to be fixed. Emotional conversations were interruptions. At one point, Elon told her, "If you were my employee, I would fire you." The words cut deeply because they revealed how he saw her, not as a partner, but as someone failing to perform. Years earlier, before their wedding, he had asked her to sign a financial document he claimed was routine. Trusting him fully, she signed without negotiation. That post-nuptial agreement later defined the divorce. It became a symbol of the entire relationship. Decisions made quickly, logic overriding emotion, trust given without protection. Justine had entered the marriage as an ambitious writer with dreams of publishing novels. But somewhere between IVF cycles, sleepless nights, and raising 5 children, her identity disappeared. Their large, immaculate home felt efficient but emotionally cold. Elon had workspaces and systems. Justine had responsibilities. Feeding schedules, school runs, doctor visits, endless coordination. She tried to explain how lost she felt, but Elon didn't understand. Everything was functioning. In his mind, that meant everything was fine. The breaking point arrived quietly in early 2008 after a car accident. The crash wasn't severe, but the moment her car spun, her first thought terrified her. She worried not about her safety, but about how Elon would react. That instinct shocked her. When she came home shaken, Elon responded with criticism instead of concern. He asked whether she had followed traffic rules. In that moment, clarity hit her harder than the accident itself. She asked for counseling, hoping to rebuild something human between them. Elon agreed, but treated therapy like a deadline. After only a few sessions, he issued an ultimatum: fix the marriage immediately or accept that it was over. The next day, he filed for divorce. 6 weeks later, he sent a short text message telling her he was already engaged to another woman. No warning, no conversation, no closure. That was the moment. Justine understood the marriage had ended long before she realized it. The divorce became a long legal battle shaped by the agreement she had signed years earlier. Despite Elon's rapidly growing wealth, the contract limited her claims. Though her lawyers argued it was unfair, the court ruled largely in his favor. Eventually, Justine stopped fighting for money and focused on stability for her children. In 2010, she told her story publicly, not out of revenge but to reclaim her voice. Writing became her survival. After the divorce, she rebuilt quietly. She cut her hair, returned to writing, and rediscovered who she was. She focused on motherhood, creativity, and peace. Over time, anger faded. What remained was clarity. Walking away saved her. And in doing so, she finally became herself again. So what do you think was the real breaking point for Justine? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deeply human stories like this.